of saluting every one of you present here. You have spared time to be here and have taken the trouble of sharing your insights on the theme in hand. Our coming together today definitely is a celebration of our human fellowship once again. The spirit, I'm sure, will contribute to the cause of making a better society as well. This is a national webinar, and persons from different parts of the country have joined us, though in representative form. Therefore, English is preferable as a medium of communication. Hindi is welcome as well. This webinar is not like a stage program where a few people speak and there's a large audience right in front of them listening to them. This is like a roundtable discussion where specialists from non-religious communities are around and they all share their insights and experiences. I know very well that all of you are professionals and can speak for hours. But in this session, a condensed speaking in 5 minutes will be appreciated so as to allow everyone a fair being. I suppose we can go to 7 minutes to a maximum. 7 minutes. This exercise is oriented to generating knowledge and is expected to be a contribution to the making of opinions on the area in question. This webinar is live streamed on the YouTube channel of the Institute and is open to the whole world, I believe, for all times. Besides, your insights will be circulated in the form of a report to nearly 40,000 persons or institutions in India and overseas through email. The insights are often appreciated and benefited from even by universities. After a round of sharing, I think we could go into some interaction on an interfaith way ahead. Therefore, it will be very kind of you to abide by the topic and the time limits so that the best may emerge from this exercise. I shall be grateful to you for the same as well. Before I invite all of you to share your insights and views, a few words by way of introducing the theme of the day. Henry Miller, a US writer, says, one's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. One's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. Interfaith, I believe, is a new way of seeing faith or understanding religion. Interfaith is a new way of seeing faith or understanding religion. There is nothing religious about the word faith. It means trust, confidence, perception, idea, belief, conviction, experience, and the like. Accordingly, there is religious faith, there is non-religious faith or secular faith too. Faith has individual and social dimensions. Faith has vertical and horizontal directions. Faith has minor and major degrees, or faith of a minor and faith of a major. Inter would mean between or among, as per the number of persons involved. Interfaith is not People of different faiths come together and keep speaking about their own traditions, like parallel lines. Interfaith would mean reaching out to the other, engaging with the other, listening to the other, learning from the other, sharing with the other, and sharing in the other, walking with the other, working together with the other, and the like, in a reciprocal way. Interfaith would mean recognizing the common origin, common existence, and common destiny of all faiths and streams of life. Interfaith would mean realizing the resources of the world as gifts of the same creator and the common cultural heritage of the human society. Interfaith would mean making a shared pilgrimage in life to the same divine destination. Interfaith is an inclusive way of thinking and an interactive way of living. Faith is a journey towards deeper, larger, and higher purpose to life. Interfaith is the way to national integration and social harmony. Interfaith is not mere speaking. It would mean interfaith action, joining hands with each other for making the society better, for promoting human and environmental well-being. Finally, from faith to interfaith, that's our way. The way of growing up in life, living one's life to the full for ourselves and for the country and for the larger society. With this introductory verse, I would like to invite Professor Bali Bhanak, a woman, batswoman, former professor of Sanskrit, Delhi University in New Delhi, and the newly elected co-president, Asian Conference of Religions for Peace, ACRP. Professor Dipali, kindly.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, and my namaskar to all the esteemed participants of today's webinar. Dr. Thomas, you have already covered all the points of interfaith living, understanding, etc. But when we are talking about interfaith, I think we should say interreligious rather than interfaith. Because faith, when we say, faith is a very abstract feeling, and it is a faith in a supreme power or based on a spiritual connection and confidence in God. So faith is an individual thing, which a person has. And it could be the faith in a person, a faith in a God, faith in a supreme power. But anyways, it is an abstract idea that is in the heart of a person, and it finds expression in religion. And when people come together, because religion is the manifestation of that faith, because although the faith is the basic foundation for many religions in the world, it is not structured, but it is abstract. Where on the other hand, but it finds its expression through religion. The words come from religion. So on the other hand, religions have a history, they have a narrative, they have sacred texts, they have sacred places, ethical standards, symbols, code of conduct. They have clergy, a hierarchy amongst the clergy in many places, rituals, festivals. So thus, religious is an element which brings people together in a community. So we can talk about religious community. And when we are talking about interfaith, I think we can say interreligious, because it is what bringing different communities together. Because we see that these outward symbols or the sacred places, sacred texts, etc., can be a source of solace, but these also become a source of conflict. Sometimes people pick up these things to create conflict in the society. But whereas faith is deeply embedded in one's own life. But as you have rightly pointed out, faith and religion are interdependent. They can be synonymous. But though faith is a personal or individualistic feeling based on belief, religion provides words to express it. And in a country now, as more and more we are living in an urbanized, globalized world, where due to migration, many people are traveling from one place to another. So what happens is we are forced to live in a place where people from different religious groups or faith groups live together. No longer can we live in isolation. Even if we look around us, look at the common people with whom we interact every day, the vegetable vendor, the tailor, or maybe the cook, or your friends around. When you travel in a public transport, or even when you interact on the streets, we find that now we are working together with people from different religious groups, from different strata of the society, and this whole world has become a big melting pot. And we need to now learn to live together so that we are play the roles of harmony instead of being disharmonious and creating conflicts. So as we all know, India is a secular country, and this, which gives, it's a secular place which gives each and every individual the freedom of religion and belief, and the Sarva Dharma Samabhava, which is enshrined in our constitution in order to recognize all religious groups and belief systems on an equal footing, is the beginning point on which we should start working. And if I look into my faith group, that is my religion, Hinduism, from the Vedas, we can find that the unity of mind that has been talked about in the Samanyasya hymns, which talks about that people have of different opinions, but we need to work together. Dr. Thomas, you pointed out that the need to work together, not only to dialogue, not only to sit and talk with each other, because it is not the dogmas or it is the principles of a religion that we are talking. Rather, we have to live together in a world which has now become a big family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And in this, we should, I would echo the thought of the Yajurveda, which says, Ano Bhadra Kratva Yantu Vishwataha. That means let noble thoughts come to me from all sides. So an interfaith or an interreligious dialogue or living together is possible when we open our minds and not close them. And in this pluralistic tradition, we have to see that we have to respect each and every thought that comes to us. And throughout history, we see that although despite cultural and religious differences, a vibrant and dynamic inter-religious dialogue has always existed in India. People from different faith groups have really lived together. But there are some mischief makers, some politicians who have used these outer symbols of religions to create disharmony amongst people. So then what is the role of the people, of like-minded people like us? It is not only sitting, dialogue does not mean just sitting together and talking about the religious teachings or the high ideals of a religious text. Because as Mundaka Upanishad says, avidyayam antare vartamana swayam dhiraha panditam manyamana dandramyamana paryanti bodha andhene vriyamana. If you just know the religious dogmas, you just know the religious teachings, and you do not practice them in your life, It is like a blind person leading another blind person. So therefore, we should be aware, and we should always be alert that we should translate the teachings of our religion into our lives and into a positive energy that will bring together. And what is the point of knowing all the religious texts, the sacred texts, and knowing everything if we cannot reach out to the other? Like Dr. Thomas, you rightly said, that it is the understanding of the other. Kabir also said, "Pothi padhi padhi jag mua, pandit bhaya na koy, dhai aakhar prem ka padhe so pandit hoy." You don't have to be a religious leader. You don't have to know your religious teachings to have interfaith or interreligious harmony. Only reaching out with love to humanity, to our, so this kind of fraternity can always happen, can only happen when we reach out to other without biased thinking, with total love towards humanity. And Swami Vivekananda also said, you have to grow from inside out. No one can teach you. None can make you spiritual. There is none other teacher but your own soul. So any kind of religious teachings cannot make you a good person, so that we live in a harmonious way in a society, unless we help ourselves to grow from inside out. So self-inquiry, self-understanding, and self-renewal are vital for any interreligious dialogue or interreligious harmony. And as I said before, religion is a set of dogmas, rituals, and beliefs and symbols. But there are certain aspects of religions which have ceased to become relevant in the modern day. And therefore, those aspects of religion which are no longer relevant in the present age, they need to be reviewed, and in order to infuse new meaning and purpose into that belief system. Mahatma Gandhi ji said, every living faith must have within itself the power of rejuvenation. Whatever is no longer in use, that we should discard. Therefore, it is of utmost importance to understand the true essence of one's present context. And learning about other religion is also very important, because there can never be interreligious understanding if we know only about our own religion and we don't try to understand the religion or the faith of the other. So religious teaching and religious learning can no longer be done in isolation. For a peaceful, vibrant, and harmonious society, it is essential that all religious teaching and learning should be in the context of the existing religious diversity. As ignorance about other religions only breeds prejudice and disrespect towards the followers of other religions, it is imperative to have an adequate knowledge of religious beliefs and practices of other communities. Like Baha'u'llah has said, "O ye that dwell on earth, the religion of God is for love and unity. Make it not the cause of enmity and dissension." So therefore, instead of making it a point of enmity, instead of looking at only the differences, we need to find the commonalities as well. And the commonalities, as you all know, all religions teach the lofty ideals of love, kindness, peace, so on and so forth. But we also need to respect the diversity, respect human dignity. And respecting diversity is very, very important. In a multi-religious, multicultural, and a multilingual society, it is very important to understand that all people are different from each other. Even people in the same family, same faith group are different from each other. But the difference needs to be respected and celebrated. Just as the members of a family are tolerant and understanding with their own family members having different temperament, similarly, people should be considerate and understanding towards people from other religious groups. And usually there is a tendency among certain religious communities to consider their own belief system their own way of worship, the tenets of their own faith, their own rituals and customs to be superior to others. This is an erroneous kind of belief. The different belief systems of other faith communities are neither inferior nor wrong. And this is an incorrect approach that not only undermines the beliefs of others, but also isolates the followers of different faiths and creates suspicion and hatred. And we always see in such a society the issues of minority and majority, the insecurity amongst the minorities. It happens because they feel threatened. So that kind of feeling should be avoided. So mutual understanding, not mere tolerance, because some people say there should be tolerance, but I would say mutual understanding is very important. As all religions are different from one another, it is imperative that in personal behavior and while transmitting values to children, there should be a sincere effort to understand and appreciate the otherness of others and to be respectful of the difference. Being indifferent to other religions and being merely tolerant towards the followers of other religions is not enough anymore. We need to understand and appreciate the different aspects of other religious systems. Mahatma Gandhi ji said, let us respect other religions, even as we respect our own. Mere tolerance thereof is not enough. Intolerance is itself a form of violence and an obstacle to the growth of a true democratic spirit. So this term, tolerance itself, has an idea of a violence. I will cut my short because I think I am running out of time. Living together, I personally experienced this interfaith living or interreligious living when I conducted a number of interfaith women's journeys with another NGO. We women from different faith groups, different religious groups, traveled from one place to another, especially to conflict areas where conflicts had taken place, or there was a simmering of religious tension there. And we found that even living amongst ourselves, it was a challenge because our customs, our food habits, our beliefs, we needed adjustment, but it was a very joyful experience. And we went to many places where this traveling together enriched our lives. And we found that living together, understanding each other can only bring, you have to live it, not just speaking about it or just speaking from the. And I will quote from in the Dialogue of Proclamation, Pontifical Churches for Interreligious Dialogue, Vatican City, 1991, page 42. The Christians have been urged by the church for four things: for dialogue of life, that is sharing the joys and sorrows, to be friendly with the neighbors, that is a living way of inter-religion understanding. When we not only enjoy our own festivals, but we share the joys of others, we share the sorrows of others. So dialogue of life. Number two, dialogue of action, that is collaborating for integral development and liberation of people. But dialogue of action is always there. For example, in the COVID-19 pandemic, it showed the dialogue of action when people from different religious groups came forward to look to help people in distress. They helped people across the religious groups in funerals, in handling death, in handling, in giving solace to people who were down or who were in their bereavement. So that was dialogue in action. So dialogue of life, dialogue of action, dialogue of theological exchange. And that is what we do, you know, when we people sit together, learned people just talking about what your religious text is saying and what my religious text is saying, deepening our understanding of religious values and appreciate them. And the dialogue of religious experience, that is people who are rooted in their own religious traditions, they share their spiritual riches with the regard to prayers, contemplation, and their search for God with others. So I find these four things are very, very important: dialogue of life, dialogue of action, dialogue of theological exchange, and dialogue of religious experience. So therefore, the four important elements of interreligious understanding, as I understand, is to respect and accept other faith groups without being judgmental, to not only find commonalities in all religious traditions that provide common ground to work together, but also respect the differences, to preserve human dignity, and most of all, to not only have deep faith in one's own religious traditions, but also to adequately be informed about the religious teachings of other religious groups. So there is a need for a partnership to move from isolation to collaboration. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. I will look forward to the contributions of other great scholars here. Thank you for this opportunity for giving me.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dipali, very much. You touched upon various, insights, various areas, and mainly, I think, learning to live together was a beautiful insight, and being good persons and getting rejuvenated by religion or faith. So, thank you very much for the variety of insights that you presented.
Thank you.
But since I would like to give two clarifications by way of moderating, that it would be nice if we go into more practical areas than theoretical information we all have, more practical, maybe an insight or two, maybe in brief, which could take us ahead still. That way, practical insights. Another is that it is a practice of interfaith rather than the theory of it. Secondly, I would like to say this, that since your insight, as I respect your insight of interfaith and interreligious, I would like to give, because it has a reference to the title, I would like to give a little clarification that the problem with the religion is a system. The system cannot dialogue. There is dogma, there is scripture, there are a lot of limits, rituals, we can easily get into conflict. If faith means it's a conviction, sharing convictions between persons is easier. And faith is the core of religion. So that point of view, well, interfaith would take us, I think, miles ahead. In a freestyle way. Religion is an organized system. It's not easy to compromise with that. So we could keep both, of course, but here our title is interfaith. A little more accent on the faith dimension. It's a freestyle and qualitative. So I would like to invite now Professor Tikam Chand Jain, head of the Department of Jain Philosophy, Tirthankar Mahavir University, former Muradabad, Uttar Pradesh, to share your insights.
Thank you all. Yes, you are really doing a good job of bringing peace of mind by making harmony in different faiths. You may call them different philosophies, different religion, but it is merely interfaith, that everybody is free to follow his own faith. But I am of the opinion that there could be, are you listening to me? Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes. There can be a good without God, that if you follow moral principles, and Jains advocate applications of triple A's. A, capital A, ahimsa, that is non-violence, aparigrah, non-possession, and anekantvad, that is shadvadvad, which indicates the definition of Jain philosophy is shadvado vartate yatra pakshapato na vidyate ahinsaya pradhanatvam Jaina dharma sa uchyate. How we can bring multi-peace? So I just say we have to explore the possibility of developing a worldwide network of multi-faith peace academics. There may be multi-faiths, but we have to make, as you are doing, sir, by harmonizing them. They are not different. They may be named as different faiths, that their inner soul is the same. No religion preaches that there should be violence, because we are aware of the just many fallacies of world war, and nobody wants that there should be some world war. So internal peace, for possibility of developing worldwide network of multi-faith peace, there could be used their exercise known confrontational dialogue, anekantvad, explain to their partners in peace the non-violence begins with training and self-discipline on one's own mind. They presume they are under the fate that they have 24 Tirthankaras. First was Rishabdev, and in present Mahavir, Lord Mahavir. But their principles or preachings are the same. They may be different in name, but their principles and their preachings are same. And it is nothing against any faith. Madam just now told that this should be named as religious, not interfaith. But faith or religion or philosophy, I presume that they are synonymous of different persons. Religion binds, and it is narrow, to my mind, presentation. Faith, there may be, the God may be different, but their principles are the same. So AAA principles propagated by the Tirthankaras of Jain, that is ahimsa, yani love for every living being, not for human being only, but every being, living being. Lord Mahavir preached Jio or Jine Do. Now it is obligatory that your survival depends on the fact if you allow other creatures to live. And then only environmental possibility will be there. So according to Jain philosophy, which is supporter of multi-faith peace academics, is that non-violence, love for all living beings, non-possessiveness, that we have to limit our greed, we have to limit other such thing, ego, pride, which causes dispute between different faiths. And we have to understand and respect the feeling and faith of others also. That is known as anekantvad, shadvad or anekantvad, theory of relativity, that from his point of view, the other faith is also right. That is not opponent to us. That is the philosophy of Jain philosophy. You are doing very much. You first told in Rishikesh in 2013, when I came from Moradabad, Tirthankar Mahavir University, and now you remembered me. I'm thankful to you all. You have all very good thinking in your mind that you have to bring peace. First, internal peace is essential for bringing world peace. And the thoughts which are detriment to world peace must be avoided. Lust, ego, and other things. So application of AAAs, ahimsa, non-violence, aparigraha, non-possession. We have to limit our needs also. I don't think that there should be any hindrance in progress, in physical progress, no. But we have to limit our needs so that other can also fulfill their basic needs. And third one is anekantvad, that is respect of viewpoint of other faiths, which will make it possible for multi-faith peace academics. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Tikam Chand Jain Sahab, for your great insights based on the Jain way of looking at life, ahimsa, then aparigraha, anekantvad, and the like. Thank you very much. Before I invite the next person, maybe I was thinking, that, could we do a sharing of certain experience, how a travel journey from faith to interfaith. For example, how I make friendship with a person from another faith or religion. See, that's very practical. We don't need much theory. The theories of our own faith or religion we have digested. And we have energy with us. We have thinking with us. We have emotions with us. With that, how do we invest that in making friendship with a person from another community, faith or religion or their caste or whatever? So that will, I think, a journey from faith to interfaith. I think that will make, I think, touch us more, because all the theories, all we know. So I think, see, my name happens to be of a Christian background. But other than that, let us keep all that Christian theories, etc., on the side. Just go there, and engage with a person from another community. That's what I mean. I think that will be a journey from faith to interfaith. So in that connection, so I would invite my friends to, that will be, I think, more contributive, because the whole world is listening to this, going to the YouTube, and reports also will go. So theories everywhere is available in the YouTube, in the Google, everywhere, of all religions. So that Christianity, everything, so that way. So next, I would like to invite Professor Sirajul Islam, who is the head of the Department of Philosophy and Religion, Vishwabharati University, Shanti Niketan, West Bengal. Professor Sirajul Islam.
Am I audible, Professor Thomas?
Yes.
Good evening to all of you, respected Dr. M.D. Thomas, distinguished other speakers, learned audience, dear brothers and sisters. I am highly thankful to Dr. Thomas for giving me this privilege in this evening to learn something. This is the good sign of interfaith enterprise. So my intention that Professor Dipali Bhanot, my Didi also, already spoke in various aspects. Let me, this is the basic foundation whenever we are talking about faith. Because the term faith, in philosophical standpoint, it is the presupposition of others. Without the existence of others, faith, the term, will be meaningless. So presupposition of others is very important. That is the basic sign of interfaith dialogue. Let's come to discuss various aspects from Abrahamic faith or faith related to Christianity, even Zoroastrianism I am teaching here also, and some other religious tradition. So whenever we're talking about faith, it is that not only the believing upon the supernatural power. Faith has multiple dimensions. We know in the Vedas, in the Ramayana, in the Mahabharata, there is the open heart, it is an open invitation to all humanity. Aaasthaa sarvata, let come from every corner. And the Vedic thought, Sangachadam, Sangbodadam, Sangvamanang Sijanotam. Sangachadam, let move together. Sangbodadam, let understand together. Sangvamanang Sijanotam. And let we understand everybody is part of one another. So this is the very open invitation and open acceptability in philosophical standpoint. So it is, one hand, faith is related to others, faith is related to sharing, Faith is related to caring. Faith is related to working. That means the acceptability and unity. We know from the Islamic perspective, generally, Islam, there is the misunderstanding related to religion, Islam, but Islam is not a new religion. It has encompassed various aspects of different religions. There is 27 prophets' name or 28 prophets' name mentioned in the Holy Quran, that those prophets were belong to different faiths. When Prophet Hazrat Muhammad declared concerning the Holy Quran, this is not only for particular community, but it is very unfortunate that Muslim people, particular community, they claim themselves that Quran is for them. It is clearly mentioned that unzila fihil Qur'ana hudan linnas. God says, I have sent down this Holy Quran for the entire humanity. And in the Holy Quran, there are various terms that ya ayyuhan nasu, nas, insan, and there is also basar. Qul innama ana basarun mislukum yuha ilayya annama ilahukum ilahun wahid. That I am, Prophet says, don't understand me as a God. Ana basarun mislukum. I am just a human being like you. Yuha ilayya annama ilahukum ilahun wahid. Only difference is that I got some revelation, but you do not. There is the notion, Ya ayyuhan nas a'budu rabbakum allazi khalaqakum min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Ya ayyuhan nas, not Muslim. If it would have been for the Muslims, Ya ayyuhal muslimo. But Quran says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O human being. A'budu min rabbikum. You should follow, worship your Lord. Allazina min khalaqakum min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. For that He has created you and your forefathers. So Islam in this space is the difference between haq and batil. It is an entrepreneurship of establishing equality, fraternity, justice towards all. That's why Prophet Hazrat Muhammad, when migrated from Makkah to Medina, he established Hilful Fuzul. That is the League of Nations, like League of Nations, where different communities, people, they have joined and they have taken an oath that we will maintain equality and we will provide equal rights to everybody. Where Christian, Jews will follow their scriptural rules and Muslims will follow their Quranic rules. And we become the brothers of one another. And Christian and Jews will be treated in Islamic country as Jimmi. That's why Jimmi means they will be protected. And this is the intention, where Islam is not in this sense what people are thinking at present and practicing. It is a way of life. That's why the faith is accompanied by, that is, with good reason, faith and knowledge, or faith and epistemology, or faith and belief, faith and trust. So faith had diversified aspects. Even in the Veda and Ramayana and Hindu other scriptures, there are 40 types of faith. So, Kullukum ibn Adam, Prophet Hazrat Muhammad says that neither the Arabian are superior, nor the non-Arabian are inferior or superior. Laisal Arabu fazlun minal azammi. Laisal azammi fazlun minal arabi. Kullukum ibn Adam. All you are the descendant of one and same Adam. And wahadatan nafsan. That's the entire humanity, a kind of faith where there is the necessity of acceptability for each and everybody. Quran says, O people of the scripture, come to word that is the equitable between us and you. Quran also says, there is a verse Al-Imran and ayat is 64. There is in the Holy Quran, O people, behold, we have created you from a male and female and have made you into nation and tribe so that you might come to know one another. And verily, you should understand the noblest of you in the sight of God is one who is most deeply conscious of him and others. Behold, God is knowing all things all hour. Lakum dinakum waliyadin. That means your religion is your religion, my religion is my religion. This knowledge is that to understand, to develop yourself. To understand and develop, that's why I'm going to conclude within 1 minute, that there is the notion to know thyself. Socrates uttered. Similarly, Muslim Sufi and Qur'an, they uttered, Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. If you understand your soul or yourself, you would understand your reality or Lord. There is the notion of Shariat, Tariqat, Marifat and Hakikat. Marifat is the gnosis, not knowledge, not wisdom. Gnosis, intuitive faculty of human being. Each and every human being will have to understand. Not faith does not mean only rituality or ritualistic aspect. Kabir that's very nicely uttered. मैं को कहाँ ढूंढो बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास में, ना मैं देवल ना मसाजन, ना कभी कोई लाश में. So faith and interfaith are interrelated. Social aspects of faith and interfaith, individual aspect of faith and interfaith, community aspect of faith and interfaith, moral aspect of faith and interfaith, cognitive aspect of faith and interfaith. These are highly important in this present juncture. And in Hinduism, we know the notion of Aaasthaa. Aaasthaa is related to Sarv Aaasthaa, yes, integrity, all encompasses aspects and highly egalitarian aspects of Hinduism. It is our duty to not only confine ourselves in a particular, we can believe in one faith, but it does not mean to neglect other faith. That's why interfaith dialogue is highly important, which will be volitional, social, cognitive, and collective. That's why Alvin Plantinga and Thomas Aquinas, they have advocated very nicely. And we know in the history, Akbar, Din Elahi, and Dara Shukor writing, he translated more than 18 Upanishads. And Majma'ul Bahrain, mingling of two oceans, are highly important for accepting interfaith dialogue and interfaith attitude. So effectiveness is that we'll have to, in this present juncture, it is highly important. I am highly thankful to Dr. Thomas for extending ourselves opportunity. So interfaith and interfaith dialogue, it does not mean to relinquish it from particular individual religion, but at the same time, it is a way of life and survival of each and every community. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you for Professor Sirajul Islam for your great insights on sharing, caring, faith or religion as a way of life, brotherly, sisterly way of being to relating to each other and the like. Thank you very much. And next, I would like to invite Professor Sharnaz Kama, who is Professor of Lady Shri Ram College, New Delhi, and also Director of UNESCO Parcel Project. Professor Sharnaz Kama.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thomas, and all the distinguished speakers. Just 10 days ago, we were in virtual presence at the Parliament of World Religions. And I think from there and from what is happening this weekend, I would like to speak on the importance of the exact topic you've given, from faith to interfaith, in relationship with, I think, one of the most important roles we can play. Because as Professor Bhanot said, All of us have the same roots. We all care about the earth. All the speakers have said that. And she had come so many years ago to Parzo to talk about ecology and to learn about ecology in the context of Hinduism, Rigvedic Hinduism, and the Aaasthaa. I think this is the urgent need of our time. And I would like to stay with what you said, Dr. Thomas, that we need to look at action because we all know that we think very similar thoughts. We all know that we should not allow intolerance, etc., in society. The bottom line right now is we have faced a COVID pandemic where we have lost many loved ones because we have encroached on the environment in a very violent, industrialized way. We have disrupted all the harmony which we keep talking about in every religion. Right now, as we speak, COP is going on at Glasgow. And again, the world is facing a much larger threat. We've all seen what's happened in our own country, in Australia, in America, with wildfires, flooding, and all of that. I would say that all of us need to work together. And I would say that from faith to interfaith, we all need to perhaps through your institute or through whatever we can share together, work as faith communities with one voice to say that the desecration of nature is the worst thing we can do against our creator. There is only one creator. We may call him in different names, but there is only one creator. At the Parliament of World Religions, a Zoroastrian group, which was a diasporic group, we had people from California, from England, from Singapore, and us from Delhi. We presented a complete session on water because in every faith, be it Hinduism or be it Islam or be it Jainism or be it the Jewish faith, water is the absolute core of life. We all talk about the waters of life in Christianity, in the Bible. We call water Ava Yazad, the pure one. And without water, there can be no life. We spoke on water, and later on, we had a group session where we had songs about the power of nature, etc., from the Parsi Zoroastrian tradition. Now, these are the sort of issues which I would really like all of us here today to talk about and think about, at least, not just talk about them, to think about, because if we speak out against certain desecrations together with one voice, maybe we can make a difference. And that is basically what I wanted to speak about today, because I've seen that we have been talking, we're all in the same group, we're around the same age, we've been talking for 20 years, but the world has completely it's become so corrupted. I'm not talking about human greed and that corruption. I'm talking about human greed which has corrupted the purity of this world itself. And all of us, we look at Mother Earth, and I think all of us need to speak in one voice. Perhaps I think that Professor Bhanot had a wonderful idea about women traveling together. Perhaps we could travel together, perhaps we could go out to different areas together, or we could get younger people, because now all of us are in a certain age group. We could get younger people whom we can inspire to travel, to sing like we sang at the Parliament of World Religions, to talk about the importance of preserving the purity of nature. And that is actually preserving faith in the creator who made what we in Zoroastrianism call the spenta or bountiful creation. That is all I would like to say. If there's any discussion we can have around it, that is what I would be grateful for, because I really feel that I cannot imagine what this world will be like in 20 years when already we have seen the damage we have done through industrialization and the sheer greed of a few human beings who we ourselves should blame ourselves for, because we've allowed them to get away with it. And I think if we speak in one voice, along with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who's been speaking about this, we may be able to have some effect. Thank you for listening, and I hope we'll come up with some solutions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Sharnaz Kama. Okay, it was a lot of good insights, and especially, the word you repeated many times was one voice. I think that summarizes interfaith. And where we have common roots, and the threat, the desecration of the nation that is ahead of us is of common roots. In which case, all our religion and faith almost fails. It doesn't come into action like. So there, I think that is that interfaith spirit. I appreciate the taking care of the Mother Earth. The Mother will take care of us. Otherwise, we are nowhere. Like, we'll be compartmentalized religionists, and which world doesn't need it, I think. So I think that's a very good insight. And ahead, I would like to request, thank you, Professor Kama, and Professor Yen Vasudevan, जो Senior Secretary General, Religion for Peace, India, and also former President, co-president, Asian Conference of Religions for Peace, and senior Gandhian and interfaith activist for decades, Professor Yen Vasudevan. Professor Vasudevan? You are not kindly unmute yourself.
I have. I hope
yeah.
you can hear me now.
Yes.
Good evening, esteemed fellow panelists. Dr. Thomas, I thank you for inviting me to this discussion on faith to interfaith. These days, interfaith is also interchangeably called interbelief, interpath, and even transbelief, besides the old interreligious and multi-religious. Maybe to make it more inclusive. But we will stick to interfaith dialogue. We are living in an interdependent world. We are living also in a world full of trouble and turbulence. This is also an age of injustice and inequalities. We must work together for the elimination of every kind of injustice. So long as injustices exist, it will not be possible for us to develop a real humane and compassionate community. Such a society can be remade only by changing men's hearts and minds. Where there is injustice, there's no peace, said Confucius a long time ago. Human progress and development can happen only when there is communal and social harmony. This is the context in which we are discussing the need for interreligious interfaith dialogue. As we are all aware, recent years have seen tremendous rise in the power and importance of organized religion in many parts of the world, including in India. At the same time, there has also been a significant increase in violence perpetrated by religion. While much has been written and talked about on the relationship between violence and religious militancy and extremism, history also shows that religious people have played a critical role in peacemaking within numerous cultures and countries. Hence comes our relevance. All religions proclaim that they wish to see a brotherhood of man established on the earth. These are ideals which have been put before us by our saints and seers many long centuries ago. But the conditions for implementation of these ideals have not been available till our own time. It is now that science and technology, especially information technology, have brought about a physical unification of the world. Now we have races and cultures belonging to different areas, mingling one with another and trying to understand one another. Cultural diversity is now an integral part of every country. Promotion of intercultural interfaith dialogue is an effort to make this diversity a source of understanding, tolerance, and harmony. Exclusivism, that is the doctrine that only one's own religion is true, is the foundation of many religions. Pluralism maintains that all religions are equally valid and that any religion may bring a person to moksha or salvation. The Hindu ethos has always accepted different paths to the divine. Egam sat viprabhuta vadanti, as the Rig Veda has it, meaning truth is one and the wise call it by many names. India is one of the ancient and most diverse, multi-religious, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multilingual countries in the world. Constitutionally, we are a socialist, secular, democratic republic. In our case, secular does not mean non-religious. It means Sarv Dharma Samabhava, coexistence of all religions with equal respect, as Dr. Dipali referred to earlier. So multi-religious approach to is the most ideal for us to follow to face the challenges. Hostility is not the natural attitude of human beings. Everything depends on our own attitude. If the attitude towards the other is one of tolerance and understanding, it will give rise to mutual tolerance, respect, and even acceptance. As things stand today, the question is, will religion bring upon us further catastrophe? Or will it provide human civilization with methods of care, healing, and creation of peaceful and just societies? Let's be clear that interfaith does not seek to homogenize religious differences. It honors the sacredness and uniqueness of each faith. Differences between various religions and philosophies need not divide and separate, but can instead enrich our lives and deepen our capacity to love. Interfaith dialogue can unlock the power of religious traditions and provide inspiration, guidance, and validation necessary for populations to move forward non-violent means to conflict resolution. Such dialogues have become an increasingly important tool for those who seek to end conflict and violence worldwide. By engaging in interfaith dialogue, we not only deepen our understanding of our own religion, but also get an overview of other world religions. Throughout the world, there are local, regional, national, and international interfaith initiatives. According to Professor Hans Kuhn, president of the Global Ethic Foundation, and I quote, "There will be no peace among the nations without peace among religions. There will be no peace among the religions without dialogue among the religions," unquote. Therefore, interfaith dialogue forms a major part in the study of religion and peacemaking. Interfaith dialogue can contribute to reduce, if not eliminate, conflict and advance reconciliation, even where religion is not the central cause of a conflict. Organizing dialogue across religious boundaries enables people of faith to live out what most faith traditions consider as sacred duty, to be peacemakers. Genuine interfaith dialogue hinges on respecting the freedom of the participants to hold their respective beliefs. It's not about trying to synthesize or syncretize a common religion out of the beliefs of different communities. As an expert puts it, and I quote, "The primary purpose of dialogue is to learn. That is, to change and grow in the perception and understanding of reality, and then to act accordingly," unquote. Those taking part in an interfaith dialogue must indeed recognize the fundamental human rights to freedom of religion and be interested in furthering of knowledge. Interfaith dialogue is not a religious debate or an opportunity to prove one's own faith as the right one. It is also essential that a safe space be created for questions to be asked so that no one feels uncomfortable. Let us remember that human nature is fundamentally good, and the spread of the right message and enlightenment will correct and abolish all wrong. A society can be remade only by changing men's hearts and minds by conscious effort, as I have mentioned earlier. We can learn to become more good. We can learn to become more good. Virtue is teachable. Virtue is teachable. I end by saying, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May there be well-being to the people. And Gandhiji's prayer line, Ishwar Allah Tero Naam Sabko Sanmati De Bhagavan. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vasudevanji, for striking the right note at the end, quoting Gandhiji, that Sabko Sanmati De Bhagavan. That is, as you rightly said, truth is one. When we all realize, while being affiliated to different traditions, when we all realize that truth is one, wise people say differently, then we are in the interfaith world. So thank you very much. That will be enriching to each one. Now we will go into some discussion. in the planning line. So a few people who were supposed to join, they did not for their own reason. And before, I think Dr. Merchant was here. I think he is not seen now. I hope he will come back. Before that, we have two persons to meet. One is my friend Rabbi Ezekiel Malekar and Bhikkhu Kabir Saxena. Kabir Saxena ji has raised his hand. So, with an excuse from Ezekiel ji, can I request Kabir Saxena ji to speak?
Thank you.
You will excuse me, Kabir Saxena ji is director of Maitreya Buddha Project, Kushinagar, Uttar Pradesh, which is residing in Delhi. So, Bhikkhu Kabir Saxena.
Thank you, Father. I was a bhikkhu. I'm no longer a bhikkhu. I'm a fallen person. Now I'm a layman, but I'm still hopefully a good human being, decent human being, I hope. I would like you to tell me when 6 minutes are up so that I can finish within 7 minutes. Will you do that? Will you give me a note or something?
Yes.
So thank you. Yes. I think the most important thing, and there are many important things, the most important thing which I found out through my experience of practice as a Buddhist for 30, 40 years, and of my close interaction with the Jesuits in Bodh Gaya, where I was working, is that there is no substitute for not only dialogue, but for sitting, talking, and meditating together. We emphasize in our tradition listening or studying, followed by discussion and reflection, followed by deep contemplation, meditation. So without that, things remain on the level of words, and several speakers have alluded to that, I think very properly. Because I don't know if you've noticed how many words we have to listen to, how many words we have to read with our gadgets nowadays, which were not there since most of us are also senior citizens. And somebody had mentioned that we're all the same age, maybe Shernazji or someone had said. So yeah, we are people who grew up without Instagram, without WhatsApp and so forth. I would like us to sit quietly for 1 minute together as a whole group of people from different faiths. And we can leave question of what a faith is really to another time, I think. But let's sit together. And I would like to, in the 1 minute, which we will have silently, to really ponder in your heart, what is the most important thing you would want to communicate to your fellow human being if you had only 5-10 minutes left of this life on this earth? What would you really want to communicate in a few words or gestures to another human being? A human being who suffers, a human being who wants to be happy, a human being who shares so much with you in so many ways. What would you want to share? So, and we can also watch what comes up in our mind, the disturbing thoughts, the plans for this evening, memories of yesterday, all of the chatter of our mind, which all of the mystics of all of the traditions have spoken about, how we have to calm that chattering mind if we are to go deeply into anything, so-called spiritual, or connected with a deeper faith than just a blind faith. Blind faith is easy, you could say mosquitoes and flies also have blind faith. Moths have blind faith. When they fly into a flame thinking it will make them happy, they die, मच्छर तो जलेबी में फंस जाते हैं अगर वो वहां सोचते हैं कि खुशी मिलेगा. So blind faith is no use, but we're talking about something deeper, and I think all the traditions actually talk about that, going deeper. We don't go much deeper, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, through just talking. Talking is a good first step, but then we have to contemplate and meditate deeply. So we'll sit for 1 minute, then I'll just share one experience of interfaith, and then I'll be quiet. So we'll sit quietly and engage in that exercise. What would you want to communicate from your heart and your mind to a fellow human being if you had 5-10 minutes left on this planet?
Yeah, if you allow me, okay, I would say that.
Just keeping silence, sir, for 1 minute.
Okay, silence. Yes, yes.
I will ring the gong at the end of 1 minute.
Oh, sorry.
Please keep silence and contemplate inwardly. Thank you. So I'll just share one modern mantra and my experience, and then I'll stop. And I won't have time to talk about this because I'm afraid I have something else.
Yeah, 1 minute,
yeah. So yeah, if you could just let me finish, sir. And is that 6 minutes yet? Maybe almost.
1 minute.
Oh dear. Okay. So my mantra is slow down, pay attention, love your neighbor, love your place, stay in your place, settle for less, enjoy it more. My experience is that with Father Lawrence in Bodh Gaya, he's a Jesuit, we decided we wanted to go deeper with interfaith. Me being a Buddhist, he a Jesuit. We appreciated each other's knowledge and respect for each other's traditions, but we wanted to go deeper. So what did he do? He did something amazing. He invited me to lead a contemplation meditation course with some meditating Christian nuns. I think they were Carmelites. I'm not sure what denomination, but they spent a lot of time just doing retreat and communing in their own way with whatever, the divine, whatever. So we had 2 or 3 days together, discussion, meditation, some talks from me based on, whatever experience I had and my knowledge of Christianity and Buddhism. And we went quite deeply in 2 days. So I have to say I'm very discouraged, and I'm just being honest with you, Father, because you wanted, I think, experience and honesty rather than just, talking. I'm very discouraged by the amount of talking that happens nowadays in all fields of life. I think to go deeper, we have to talk to each other in a retreat setting, spend time living together, meditating together, discussing together. That's the only way to go deep. Of course, you can talk for hours on end, but it will be superficial, mainly superficial. That baking of the bread comes when you put the bread in the oven, not just by making the dough ready. It has to go in the oven. So for me, putting the bread in the oven is meditating together and then discussing and not thinking that we're all the same. We're not all the same in terms of faith. We are different, but there are some things we can share most beautifully. So sorry, I've spoken beyond 7 minutes. I apologize for that, taking up your precious time. But I think we do have to go deeply to understand our own faith properly. Then we can discuss with others. Otherwise, what are we discussing? We're only discussing theory and words. We have to understand our own traditions deeply, as much as we can. So I hope what I've said doesn't offend anyone. If it has, I ask for your forgiveness. And I hope in the future, Father or somebody in Delhi will organize some retreat together where we can spend 2-3 days together, reflecting, discussing, meditating, eating together, all of that. Varna, I'm sorry, it's not going to do the job to transform the world that is suffering, which was alluded to by Sharnas Kamaji and others. So thank you so much. Thank you, Father.
Yeah, thank you so much, Saxena Ji. There is a very interesting sharing. A good invitation to, when you have 5 minutes left before closing the eyes from this world, what do you like to share? Most silently we may share, or if we have a few words, that would be that emerges from the heart, mind, and the spirit, everything. I think it would be some substance of interfaith, I suppose. Nothing more. Because, yeah, well, that was a very beautiful insight, is the practical line. We are accustomed to too much speaking. I myself also am part of it. The game, maybe we have a little more meditation, a little more reflection, little sharing, and not talking. Maybe that would be that is a good insight. Thank you very much, Sakshenaji. Now I would request my friend, Rabbi Ezekiel Malekarji, who is, honorary secretary of the Judah Ham Synagogue, New Delhi, the only synagogue in Delhi. So, Ezekiel, please.
Please excuse me, Father, I have to go to another session.
You have to go. You stay back and we will come into more detail.
We will meet and meditate together. That's my promise.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was really gave us a very nice insight.
Yeah, it was wonderful, Bhikkhu.
Yeah. Thank you.
Kabir Saxena ji.
Malakarji, kindly unmute yourself. Hello, kindly unmute yourself.
I'm audible?
Now, yes.
Yes, now you are. We can hear you.
Shabbat Shalom. Today is a Saturday.
Shabbat Shalom.
So the Jews are celebrating the Shabbat. I'm, of course, thankful to Dr. M.D. Thomas for inviting me. And at the outset, I would like to wish all my brothers and sisters a very happy Deepavali. May the Deepavali lights illuminate your life with peace and wisdom. Of course, Dr. Deepali Banut has covered, and she has covered all the aspects of the interfaith dialogues. So nothing has been left over for us to, say about it. And I have a very long 42 years association with her in the interfaith dialogue. And of course, how can I forget Dr. Setna also, for his wonderful work in the interfaith dialogue. As Dr. M.D. Thomas has suggested, not to talk about the religious and theological aspects of the religion, but because if I begin, I would say what is Judaism, what is Torah, then what Rabbi Hillel has said when someone has asked him to explain Torah in one sentence, and he said, what is hateful and hurtful to you, do not do to others. And you will find the same principle in all the religions. If you see the golden rule of all the religions, same, you will find it in all the religions. Then there are 10 commandments. As you know, the 10 commandments, its arrangement is first 5 commandments on one stone and the next 5 commandments on the other stone. So the first 5 commandments, your duties, obligations to God. Next 5 commandments, your duties, obligations to the fellow men. So I'm not going to talk about it. Only I will begin, as Dr. M.D. Thomas has rightly said, what action you have been taking to promote the interfaith dialogue. So I will be concentrating on these topics only. Of course, Swami Vivekananda ji said, follow one, respect all. Of course, we must have the commonalities between all the religions. We must respect human rights of the other religions. But what I'm going to say, what I have done in practice. So I begin with the synagogue. There is a fanatism, there are the ultra-Orthodox views in all the communities. So similarly, in my synagogue, I do not ask anyone, whoever comes to the synagogue to offer the prayers, I never ask him his religion. All are welcome to come and pray in the synagogue. That is the one thing. Secondly, I invite all my interfaith friends like Dr. Merchant is a very regular visitor to our synagogue, and Dr. M.D. Thomas also. So next month we have the festival called Hanukkah festival. Hanukkah festival is the festival of lights. So we light the lamp for 8 days. So what I do, I invite all the religious leaders. There is an imam from the Muslim community, Ilyasi. Then I invite Dr. M, the Merchant ji, and all religious people. They come and celebrate. I remember that next month, in the month of December, when we have the Christmas celebration, Dr. M.D. Thomas and myself, we have been regularly invited by the Swami Shantatma Nandaji at the Ramakrishna Mission to come and celebrate Christmas in the Ramakrishna Mission. So this is the really interfaith dialogue and interfaith activities. I remember that once upon a time, a friend of mine, he's no more, he's a pastor from the Christian community. He passed away. We used to have the Deepavali festival in the Goldakhana church. Dr. Merchant will be able to tell me his name.
Yes, it was.
You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that Father. Yes.
Nambiar Parambil. Nambiar
No,
Parambil.
Father Albert Nambiar Parambil.
Yeah.
Yes.
He used
yes.
to invited. What I'm trying to tell.
Yes, that's right.
Hold the candles in our hand and celebrate Deepavali festival inside the church. And so, this is the real, communal interfaith dialogue in action. And you will be very happy to know, Dr. Merchant knows that I have established Interfaith Study Center at the library of the synagogue, where I have all the 9 religious holy scriptures. And my aim is to find out what are the commonalities, what are the similarities. If differences, any respect those differences also. So I have the holy scriptures of all the religions, and I try to find out. My concentration is how to find out the similarities between all the religions. Then coming to the minyan. Minyan is a quorum for reading certain part of the Torah, or for reciting the memorial prayer. You must have the 10 men. So I would like to say that I have completely avoided the gender discrimination in the synagogue. If there are 5 men and 5 women, I read the Torah, I read the memorial prayer. So I have completely avoided the gender discrimination. Then coming to the interfaith marriage, why I am saying this, because Dr. M.D. Thomas said, let us concentrate on the action, interfaith wedding. So far, I have performed more than 15 interfaith weddings. One of the spouse is a non-Jew. Last week, I performed one wedding. A Jewish boy from Delhi, he married to the Hindu girl. Can you imagine? So I performed not in the synagogue. I went to the banquet hall, and I always tell that you follow your religion, your husband or wife, she will follow her religion. Let the children decide whether to follow the father's religion or mother's religion. So this is also I have been doing it. Then Dr. Banot has rightly said, what was our contribution during the COVID-19? I am very happy to say that I took pains. In fact, the medical doctor should have taken that trouble, but I wrote an article in the Times of India, dignified disposal of the dead bodies during COVID-19. Because there was so much of fear in our minds, misconceived notions that a person who died of a COVID-19 is untouchable. People even, they were afraid of going to the cemetery, going to the graveyard. So I have clearly mentioned in that article that virus of that COVID-19 remains in your body till such time you are alive. Yes, so I have written an article, so that has given a new this thing. Then I had been to Sudan on a peace mission. I had been to Khartoum there was a war between Christians and the Muslims. So I was there on this thing. Then Times of India's organ donation. have taken a lead in that. Okay, we must donate our organs. That is a very important. Then coming to the ecology, the Times of India again, they have been taking every year organizing programs. Dr. Merchant always used to be with me. We planted thousands and thousands of the trees. And as Dr. Banot has said, we should not speak our this thing to the interfaith or interreligious. What about these, natural calamities? We must be there. Then ecology. Then there is a drug addiction among the youngsters, especially in Punjab. So we must see that it is our duty to see that. And then my very close subject to my heart is how we are neglecting the elderly people. Now, when I see that pathetic and very miserable conditions of the elderly people in our society. So it is a time to, educate our children, to tell them that, this your parents, the most important commandment in Judaism is the 5th commandment. Thou shalt honor thy father and mother. So this is what I have been saying it. And at the end, I would say, oh God, you taught us how to fly in the air like a bird. You taught us how to swim under the ocean like a fish. But, oh God, kindly teach us how to walk on this earth in brotherhood, peace, and amity. Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi Malekarji, for your great insights, especially in the context of Corona times. That was very contextualized way, which is really interfaith. The real interfaith was expressed actually in the Corona times that way.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Now I would like to request Dr. A.K. Merchant, who is General Secretary of Temple of Understanding and also trustee of Lotus Temple and
Yes,
Baha'i
yes.
community.
Well,
Dr. A.K. Merchant.
yeah, yes. First of all, my hearty greetings to all the distinguished friends and to Dr. M.D. Thomas for organizing this. Let me begin with a disclaimer. I'm not representing our office of the Baha'i community because we have made some changes. So I am promoting the interfaith discourse in my capacity as the General Secretary of Temple of Understanding. Of course, my religion is Baha'i faith. So I'll be speaking more in terms of what has happened in the interfaith discourse right from the time of 1893. And when we are talking about certain practical lessons, I did manage to hear a number of speakers. In between, I was cut off for reasons beyond my control. So what are some of the takeaways? I think we need to look at humanity in the light of the evolution that has happened. Just as we notice that in the world of science and technology, there has been a lot of evolution, there's been a lot of advancement, and we can see that the changes brought about by that system of knowledge, which we call science, which gives us our technology. In the same way, how have the religions and the interreligious dialogue process helped the human race to evolve? Because in terms of communication, in terms of travel, we are being impacted very profoundly. So it is high time that the people of the world recognize that the source of all religious systems, whatever may be the spiritual path they are walking, they have come from the same one source. And if that source of knowledge is helping a human being to be a good person, to stay away from the evil, because the forces of evil, the forces of negative destruction are extremely powerful, and they at times have a dominance over the forces of good, over the forces of spirituality and goodness and nobility. So my take about this practical example is, how do we formulate a curriculum that will help the children of this generation and the succeeding generations to be good human beings. And to this end, the example, I have one example, because the human race, we have seen a lot of dehumanization. We have seen that human beings have been dehumanized. And as a result of this dehumanization of the human race, there has been tremendous amount of conflicts and destruction. And the example of the ancient times in the Egyptian civilization was that of a sphinx. If you have seen the body of the sphinx, it has the head of, it has a human head, but it has an animal body, the body of a lion. So how can we emerge as human beings? And that can only happen when the spiritual teachings are discussed in the families. Spiritual teachings are discussed in the school system, where moral and ethical precepts, they become the uppermost dominating features of our life, rather than the material things and the material forces and the material aspects that govern present-day society. So for me, I subscribe to, as was mentioned, I think in the beginning, Dr. Dipali Bhanot, when she mentioned about learning to live together, what she was saying, she was actually referring to the UNESCO's curriculum framework for the 21st century, which is anchored upon the 4 pillars of learning. All of us are learners all our life. And the 4 pillars of learning are learning to do, which is the Gyan Yoga. Learning to do is the Karam Yoga. Learning to know is the Gyan Yoga. Learning to live together is the Sahaj Yoga. And learning to be is the Atam Yoga. So when we look at this 4 pillars of learning, because these were some of the best minds throughout the world who were able to formulate a curriculum package, which the majority of the governments of the world have accepted. And if you have seen the latest new education policy of the government of India, the 2 things that appeal to me a lot, one was the concept of global citizenship, and the other is the importance of our mother tongue. Because the mother tongue gives us our connection with our cultural ethos. And what a child learns in his or her mother tongue will stay throughout one's life. It will be the culture. And culture itself, you know, is a profoundly changing aspect of human existence. Every culture has undergone tremendous amount of change. Just to give you an example, in the past, how long the marriage ceremonies would be, it would go on for days. Today, nobody has the time. In fact, many of the families, they pay the pandit or the priest extra money to expedite the matters. In the past, you know, things would go on for weeks. So like that, everything is changing. But if a human being collectively can experience a change for the better, then it will survive. Otherwise, it will perish. So the choice is ours. Among all the creation, human beings are the only creatures that have been given the free will. If you look at the world of nature, most of the things, they exist according to the instinctive feelings and behavior. If an animal is hungry, it has to find some food. If a plant does not find the nourishment and the nutrients, it will either perish or it will try to send its roots deep down till it finds a way to thrive and survive. So human race today is at a very important turning point in its existence as a civilization. It will either turn towards the good and produce a new civilization, or it will perish. And if it perishes also, that's also part of God's creation. If it thrives and it evolves to a higher level, that's also part of God's creation. God's will is a paradox. We will never understand it fully. And life itself is also a paradox. God says in the scriptures, I created you in my own image and likeness. But then on the other hand, you have the worst of beasts like human beings, who are no better than Satan, the description of devil or Satan. So it's a paradox. We will never fully understand many of the mysteries of life. But as our Mr. Kabir Saxena was saying, if we take up some of our practical things and come together in a retreat, it will give us a very good feeling and collective understanding. But life is much more complex. Society is even more complex, and a civilization is even greater in its complexities. So these are my thoughts. And I feel that if there is a sense of optimism, I feel there is hope. I go by that sense of optimism. And I believe that humanity can turn around and once again establish a civilization, a way of life, which will be in the interest of the maximum number of the people on this planet. And it is possible. It is not something impossible, but challenges are there. Once again, Dr. Thomas, thank you very much for this.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. P.K. Merchant,
Yes.
For highlighting the power of evil, which is seems to be even stronger than the power of goodness. Anyways, we need a lot of healing, a lot of practice, that theory, I think, and the optimism is the sum and substance of religion and faith that keeps us going amidst all the odds in the world. You see, that is, yeah. So I think now we thank you very much for the insights. And now we have some time. A few people could not join somehow. And sorry, there was some technical trouble also because of network fluctuation. I'm sorry for that. Now as many we are here, could we go into some takeaway, a step ahead from wherever we have a lot of insights have come from the diverse quarters. You know, good thoughts are welcome from whichever direction. We are from diverse faith traditions, language, and other traditions. We have come together, and what we have shared is not just something we have copied from somewhere. What we have earned in our life. In our life of decades and decades, what we have earned, what has gone into us. So I think from that point of view, sharing is very much worthwhile. And from practical point of view, as also said, that question Saxena ji has put across to us is, so even 5 minutes left for closing our eyes. See what do you share? We may not say in a theory there. Maybe what emerges from our heart, mind, and that I think has something deeply reflective in terms of interfaith. Another is the one voice, also highlighted by Professor Kama. What is that one voice? In spite of all the great religions of the world, all the practices of the world, I think religion has, in many occasions, have been part of the problem than the solution. See, I myself am sorry about it. What can you do? But then that will be there because there is a force of good and evil are fighting against each other, and then where do we stand? We need to stand with the power of goodness than the power in comparison to the power of evil. And we should be standing with the solution than this problem. So I think that is the interfaith journey. We are making a step ahead together and inside. Maybe one thing, by way of a practical point of view, I would like to share with regard to this interfaith. For me, unless I am invited to speak on Bible, Jesus, or Christianity. I never say anything about Christianity or Jesus or Bible.
What's happened? Can't hear him. Connection is.
I think we've lost the connection.
Yes. Yeah, we have, I think his, yeah, but of course, Rabbi Malekar, you are also muted. You need to unmute. I can hear see your lips are moving. Rabbi Malekar ji, you have to unmute.
He's back. He's back.
He's back.
You know, I'm saying that today being a Shabbat, I have to conduct the prayers in the synagogue at 6:30. I'm already late by half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
With the kind permission of
Well,
Dr.
Rabbi Malekar ji.
May I leave?
I think he was winding up. Is he concluding?
Winding up. We are winding up. Do you like to go into some discussion or sharing? Some discussion? We could take 5 to 10 minutes at a maximum. So what I was saying was...
No, about the school curriculum, what about the new education policy? Can something be...
No, what I mean to say...
discussion, okay.
Curriculum that will take a long time, no?
Oh, I see. You were asking Rabbi Malekar whether he had something to say.
What he says?
No, let me complete what I was saying. I was saying, some maybe in the interfaith point of view, what I would like to share was this, that, having been from the Christian tradition, speaking about the scriptures and the Christian theories and dogmas, etc., is okay, nothing special. That is faith sector, religious sector. Going into interfaith sector, there's something more than that. So what I mean to say is, for me, what is real, I'm just sharing my experience. Having been hailing from the Malayalam community to South India, having come to the North India and living for a long time in the North India, having been in touch with the people of all communities, language groups, religious groups, etc., what I cherish as interfaith today is the maybe thousands and thousands of people I have met, hundreds and hundreds of friends I have got from other communities. That is the fruit of my interfaith. If I have something to offer to God, that is what it is. All other what I have, the Christian I have, if something has gone into me as Christian, digested, it's already there. I don't have to keep speaking about it. What interfaith, what I have earned is the good friends I have, hundreds in number, in other communities, from other faiths, and the thousands of people I have met, and they all have contributed me, enriched me. I have learned many things from them, silently. And that is for me, interfaith, it's very practical. I have no Christian theory to repeat, to present. They are all there. Okay, fine. If we are digested it is. So I would I would suggest to you, what do you say in this line? No? To take interfaith journey together with others. There's something more than the so-called
ऑथर है ये इसमें बोलिए सर दिक्कत हो रही है
So I'm so sorry. Yes, So would you like to add anything to that? Would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, you mentioned, Dr. Thomas, you mentioned about interfaith. All these years, since 1893, so much of documentation is available And United Nations also has decided that there should be an Interfaith Harmony Week. The first week of February deals with the interfaith issue. Then they have declared some important other dates like International Day of Non-Violence, coinciding with Gandhi Jayanti, International Day of Tolerance. So today interfaith has actually got a very broad scope. It is no longer simply an exchange of religious thoughts. It also has to address issues of gender justice, environment, human rights, as many of the distinguished speakers have already mentioned, education of children, providing relief during the time of disaster, natural disaster and man-made disaster. So many of the COVID victims, they wanted just prayers. They were in the hospital and they wanted somebody to come and say some prayers or chant some mantras so that it would also give them some strength to cope with the suffering and pain. So we can see, and a very important landmark under the United Nations auspices during the time of Kofi Annan was the World Summit of Religious and Spiritual Leaders. That also produced a very important document which went into the United Nations Global Compact. So, I mean, Kofi Annan was a daring Secretary General of the UN that he could give a responsibility to hold such a meeting at the UN headquarters. I mean, friends, these are some very interesting developments and the lessons we have learned. Rabbi Malekar and others have mentioned about the Golden Rule. Then there are documents about guiding our institutions. There are documents on all of these subjects. So we need to find a way, distill, and as our Kabir Saxena ji was telling us, if we ever have a retreat, then we can go in greater depth. The most recent was the Virtual Parliament of the World's Religions 2021, which was opening our hearts to the world, compassion in action. So friends, there's no dearth of knowledge. I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Anything else? Otherwise, it's around 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Shall we?
Yeah, we should.
So thank you very much, Dr. Thomas. Really wonderful moment, wonderful discussion. Only we'll have to do some action. We'll not only talking about it, we'll have to practice and utilize in our life.
That is action
for each and everybody without any discrimination of caste, creed, and religion.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
That action, I do believe that it will emerge. So thank you very much for taking the trouble and for sharing the great insights. And together we will move in this line towards. Thank you very much.
My regards to all.
Good night.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Malekar, Dr. Marchand, how are you?
Yes, I'm very well. I remember we have met.
Yeah.
Yes.
We met at Belur. Ramkrishna Mission.
Yes, Ramkrishna Mission. Yes. Thank you. Indeed. A number of years ago. অনেক বছর আগে আমাদের পরিচয় হয়েছিল।
ভালো আছেন?
হ্যাঁ